Hey, AP Euro guys. It's Mr. Walsware again. Oh, how about that Bolivar and San Martin, huh? I knew you'd love those guys. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself the other day with Revolutions of 1848. I just started talking, and I don't even know how I got there. I was talking about the concert of Europe. And then next thing you know, I'm talking about the revolutions of 1848. Look, man, it's all going to be on the test. It's an AP test. It's all good. Um, the sometimes I really enjoy just rambling. Oh, that's a surprise to us, Mr. Walsware. Anyway, I hope everything's going all right. Get your notes in. A bunch of you have turned in great notes and others haven't turned in notes. I don't want to name names, but come on, turn in the notes. This is in rocket science. We're doing online school, and your grade is the majority of your grade is going to come from you demonstrating that you watched my incredible videos based on views. It would be awesome if you put in like a comment so I could see that you were watching these awesome videos. And the fact that I can look at your notes and know that you're taking notes. Okay? Don't make me come to your houses. Though if I do, remember, Belgian quadruples are the beer I drink. So if I have to come to your house, remember that. Remember the story, St. Bernardus, number 12? Which is the recipe for the world's greatest Belgian beer that for some reason they had to manufacture at the St. Bernardus Abbey for a period of time. Anyway, this is part one of Friedrich Nietzsche, a dude who has been very influential in my life. I have, and even in my Twitter headline, it's Living Beyond Good and Evil, which was I'll explain, a quintessential part of Nietzsche's Genealogy of Morality. So we're getting into some of the philosophers, and this is this is some of my favorite stuff. We've had, sorry, that's not coronavirus cough, that's allergy. Maybe, I mean, who knows? Either way, it can't jump through the screen. So we've had Kant, we've had Schopenhauer, okay? We've to some extent had Hegel. Schopenhauer's the guy who really influenced Nietzsche. Schopenhauer and his idea of the world as will. Okay? Now, Nietzsche will elaborate later on in Zarathustra, in The Will to Power, in the Genealogy of Morals, in The Gay Science. He will elaborate on Schopenhauer's idea of will. But those guys are so important to him because this is, in my opinion, this is the golden age, this romantic period, the golden age of philosophy, where we get such compelling characters. And that's, that's just something that I've always really enjoyed. I always, I was never a big guy with the Greeks. That could be bias because of Nietzsche. He despised the strict rational sense of Socrates and Euripides. He would have loved like Heraclitus. But let me see, let me get going with this. So where do I want to start? Well, let's take a look at the genealogy of morals. Now, actually, you know what? I'd like to talk real quickly about the birth of tragedy. I think this is Nietzsche's first book, and he was just hazed for, like, it got no critical appeal. In fact, none of Nietzsche's stuff gets any kind of recognition until after Nietzsche. And one of the reasons that we're studying him is because he has an evil sister who manipulates his stuff to serve the desired goals of German nationalism in the 20th century. So let me start with the birth of tragedy. Nietzsche looked at he was a huge admirer. He was a philologist to begin with, but he was a huge admirer of the Athenian tragedy, with the chorus. And he saw these two competing elements within the tragedy: the Apollinian, which is the strict rational voice of man, and the Dionysian, which is the wild and crazy voice within man. Often they're seen as male and female, but I don't remember Nietzsche really spending much time with that as attributes. But so you have this Apollinian, which is reason, and this Dionysian, which is sort of this wild spirit within mankind. And he felt like these Athenian tragedies, through the use of a chorus, because the chorus enables the viewer to kind of step into the play. And he saw this as the ripping away of the illusion of culture. And he felt like these Athenians were willing, through these tragedies, they were willing to stare into the abyss. And Nietzsche has a great quote, sometimes when you stare into the abyss stares back. It's sort of like, be careful what you go looking for in human nature, that kind of thing. But he felt like they could they were able to look into the abyss that was the human condition, and they were okay with it. And that these Athenian tragedies were these masterful works that balanced the entire spectrum, the Dionysian and the Apollinian. Now, he'll go after Euripides and Socrates, because in the case of Socrates, he's Mr. Reason, and he's way too Apollinian. And then Euripides, he felt that Euripides, I think I had theater in college. I want to say Euripides kind of gets rid of the chorus, and he feels like the plays then become just about the mundane trivialities of everyday life, which later in his philosophy, Nietzsche will attack as herd mentality. He felt like Euripides brought philosophy, he took the tragedy and he brought it down to this simplistic herd mentality, which, that's neither here nor there. I mean, he even went back, and I think he was very critical of the birth of tragedy later in life. But I've always found it to be one of the coolest sort of, I look at it as like an analysis of art. It's this beautiful analysis of art to me, and the art being the tragedy, because I love tragedies. Anyway, let me try and give you, and I think you're starting to pick up on the fact that this is going to be a multi-part little segment that I'm doing. But I really want you to leave AP Euro with a really good understanding of the philosophers and the philosophers that really shaped European history, I believe. Anyway, let's go back to the Genealogy of Morals. Okay? And this is probably one of his most important works, which I don't pretend to be an authority, but I have read most of his stuff. So when we look at the Genealogy of Morals, Nietzsche struggled with a fundamental question about our existence, and that is, when did strength become negative? And he had some kind of a quotation, and I don't think it's Darwinian, although Darwin is kind of operating at the same time. Was he influenced by Darwin? I'm not sure. But in nature embraces strength as the primary mechanism of survival. Why then do we adhere to a morality that he called a herd morality? Now, let's give you some background. Nietzsche, in the Genealogy of Morals, talked about the clergy, and he talked about the nobility, and the nobility he saw as the strong. And he included the clergy in that nobility, and he believed that the clergy had harnessed the weak, the herd. This might cancel out because I just got a low battery thing. But he believed that the clergy had harnessed the power of the herd for their own devices, which in itself he would admire, but in the Genealogy of Morals, he goes back and he says, let's ask ourselves, where did this morality come from? Okay, it used to be the strong were the good, okay, and the bad were the weak. Okay? And then there was this major transformation in which the good become the weak and the strong are now considered the evil. Okay? That to him makes no sense. Now, he's taking a look at Christianity. He is very critical of religion. He's much less critical of Judaism than he is of Christianity, because he sees Judaism as being, because it's Old Testament driven, as being cognizant of that caste idea of the good being strong and the bad being weak. And he gives numerous examples throughout the Genealogy of Morals of how how Judaism and the Old Testament embrace that mentality, whereas there's a major shift in the way we approach that once we get to the New Testament and the Gospels. And so he's not the anti-Semite most people kind of think he is. But he believed that this notion of the strong being evil was created as a vindictive effort to poison the happiness of the strong. Okay, this herd of the weak create a new set of rules. That new set of rules is what we have come to accept as Christian morality. Right? That's Nietzsche's take. It's not my take. It's a Catholic school. I'm just giving you Nietzsche's take on this. Anyway, so what are we to do about this? Okay. You also, by the way, in I believe it's the gay science, you get this idea of God being dead, and we have killed him. His blood is on our hands. Is I believe the take that Nietzsche has on this. But so what is all of this, and what is his theory going forward? Well, a large part of his theory going forward involves the three states of man that he outlines in Zarathustra, which I will talk about in my next session, because I think I'm going to run out of batteries, and I like to keep these pretty low. But Zarathustra is probably his most read piece of work. But I'll talk about a couple things. I'll talk next section. I'll talk about Zarathustra, and I'll talk about Nietzsche's idea on how we should exist, and what are the stages of our intellectual development, and what is the practical application of those stages. So I'm going to put an assignment in on online. Just, look, I want to see your notes on Saturday. So I think I gave you 6 more pages last class. I'll take a look, or around 6, and then I'll take a look and maybe add like 3 or 4, and I'll do another note check. If you don't have a note check on the notes prior to this, get those in, please. Anyway, I love you. I miss you. April 30th, May 10th, May 25th. I don't care what the date is. I want to get back, and I want to send you guys off the way we should send you off. Keep fighting the good fight. Give your parents a big hug. We're all in this together. Love you.